7 o'clock. We will call the town board meeting for February 4th, 2019 to order. First order of business on the agenda is to approve the agenda. I see here, Patrick, we're adding item 9A.
We are. That is the tobacco compliance results, just as an FYI. If you want to discuss them, that's great. I also would add, and I don't know if we should add it to the agenda, but correspondence from our recording secretary that we can address or not. It's up to you.
Concerning,
Joan is deciding to step away from a lot of her duties. Yeah. So
Wow.
we could talk about some logistics if you want, otherwise or we can just choose not to accept it.
we've tried that with a
That didn't
number of
work.
people, it doesn't seem to work.
Well, then I'm gonna have Chad look into the legal aspect of it, but anyway.
Well, why don't we just put it down to accept the document?
Yeah, I think for now, because
Okay,
I don't want to start crying.
No, me either.
fair enough.
All right, so we've got one added agenda item 9A, tobacco compliance. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Also, item number 3, we need a motion to approve payment of the bills.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion also carries. Item number 4, I need a motion for approval of the minutes of January 23rd, 2019.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2019 meeting with minor corrections that the office took care of earlier today. To the minutes, that's it.
All right, do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion also carries. Item number 5, we have 5 items on the consent agenda. Scott, would you like to go through those?
All right. 5A, the March executive meeting is being rescheduled from Friday, March 22nd, 2019 to Friday, March 29th, 2019 due to a conflict. Item 5B, a 25-foot right-of-way setback variance request at 5518 and 5520 Shady Side Lane. Call a public hearing for Monday, March 4th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Heritage Hall, 4200 Otter Lake Road to allow a minor subdivision lot line rearrangement. Item 5C, a conditional use permit request at 5858 Centerville Road. Call a public hearing for Monday, March 4th, 2019 at 7 p.m. at Heritage Hall, 4200 Otter Lake Road to allow cell tower antenna additions. Item 5D, a special town board meeting for Thursday, February 7th, 2019, beginning at 6 p.m. at Central Middle School, 4857 Bloom Avenue, White Bear Lake, to attend a public informational meeting. And item 5E, Board of Audit. Call a Board of Audit meeting for Friday, February 22nd, 2019, at 10:55 a.m. at the Township Administrative Offices, 1281 Hammond Road.
All right, I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carried. Item number 6, we have no old business, so we're going to move on to item 7, which is a public hearing for Calvary Church at 4604 Greenhaven Drive. This has been a continuance. Chad, do we still need to waive the reading?
No, you don't. You've already, this is because you continued the matter.
All right, so I just need a motion to open the public hearing portion of it.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All right, Tommy?
Yes, Supervisor Prudon mentioned this is a public hearing or continuation of a public hearing that was held initially on December 3rd and then continued to January 23rd and then again until tonight. The topic or proposal is to add a 6,000 square foot addition onto the east side of Calvary Church over off of Greenhaven Drive, Highway 96 in this location here. Previous reviews, there was some outstanding engineering items that needed to be addressed. That's the reason for the continuation. Also, the board asked staff to contact the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department. So one of the public hearing comments that we received was town should consider posting no parking on one or both sides of Greenhaven Drive right here. That was an email that was received from an area resident. There were some attendees at the public hearing on, I believe it was the 23rd, might even been December 7th, who heard that idea and thought that probably overkill or not necessary because church services are, limited to Sunday. Nonetheless, I was still to contact the Sheriff's Department. Just haven't gotten to that yet, or have made the call but not received an answer, I should say. So that's still an outstanding issue. In addition, talking with the town's engineers today, they have a couple of engineering outstanding issues and also would like me to contact the town's environmental consultant at SEH to make sure that the plans are all completely up to snuff, and then confirm that Velamo has reviewed this and either issued a permit or not necessarily needed a permit. So unfortunately, last week I was out of the office and those details I did not get to. Mr. Stewerman, who is the architect for Calvary Church, and I had a discussion earlier today. We think everything is pretty well in line, but we still want to detail a few things. So at this point, after our discussion, we'd like to continue this to the next town board meeting in order for us to confirm a couple of those outstanding engineering items, and also to put together a zoning certificate with lists approval criteria if the board so chooses to approve this. The other outstanding issue was there is an underground stormwater treatment system that treats the stormwater, and part of the current zoning certificate is annual inspection of that. That had not taken place for a while, so we've been in contact, Public Works has been in contact with the church, and it's my understanding that they have now performed an inspection and cleaned out that system. So that issue is squared away. I think I'll leave it at that at this point unless Mr. Stewerman has something to add, or maybe Larry has a couple of comments. They are provided in the packet here on pages 26 and 27 of the packet, some of their outstanding issues.
Larry, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Chair, board members, I think Tom covered that pretty well. I don't have anything to add.
I noticed in here on part of your report, the proposed depth is shallow, 1 to 2 feet of cover, and you're recommending that be insulated? How do you do that?
The storm sewer pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too, and was wondering about that myself. Jim performed the review, but I think that's something we can talk further with Jim on and clarify with the architect.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious to how that would work if it's only a couple feet underground. I don't know if insulating it's going to do much.
Right.
Other than that, any other questions of the board before I open up to public comment?
The only thing I have a question on has to do with the continuance, but I'll wait till we get to that point. So we'd ask it now.
Of the attorney?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear, I mean, it's Tom or Chad, the continuance that's going to be asked for to the February 20th meeting is, it says at the request of the applicant, but is that clear? Is that you, or is that the request now
That's at
of
the
the town,
request
or
of
is it
staff
continuing?
now, and I believe there's agreement to do that by the applicant.
Well, the initial request, the initial extension, 60-day period, was done by the applicant.
But-
And under the statute, unlike extensions granted by the city, or by the township, I should say, which are 60 days, the statute has no limitation at all, so it's indefinite as far as I can tell under the statute, though we have to deal with this. I mean, I don't think we should continue anymore after the next continuous. This is it. Either we act or we don't, or,
I think we're almost there. We provide the board with a zoning certificate, assuming that projects will be approved. Don't have that in the packet. That lists the requirements, and I'd just like some time to clarify a couple
Sure.
things and to get that taken care of, so you have time to review that.
My real question was, did it switch from the applicant requesting it to us now? And that's why I wanted to know if it made a difference, or is it continuation of the?
No, the initial request
Yes.
was done by the applicant, and the board itself has never, or the town itself has never requested a continuance. So you've been operating off of the continuance requested by the applicant,
Okay.
which is, as I say, under the statute, appears to be indefinite.
And that is still true as we sit here tonight?
Well, we'll get that in a minute, so.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's all I'm interested.
All right, well, I'd like a motion to open this for public comment.
I'll move to open the public comment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion been made and seconded. Could you just get your name and address and identify yourself for the,
I'm Richard Stuerman with BWBR Architects, and representing the church tonight. And it's 380 St. Peter Street in St. Paul, Minnesota.
okay.
And I guess just a little clarification. Yes, I should say as the architect, we requested the continuance when we learned that there was more engineering needed back in December. And we've provided that. And then comments came back from that, and those were just given to us today. And just through a conversation with Tom, we agreed that, if we can take care of matters over the next 2 weeks, then that'll be fine for the project schedule. The church would like to begin probably in about the next month or 6 weeks at the most. Then they hope to be breaking ground. So hopefully we can get this resolved. And I believe right now the matters are in the hands of the city or the township to take care of these last pieces. So that's all I have.
Richard, do you have any updated plans? We've got one in front of us dated October 5th. Do you have anything newer than this, or are we still operating on that one?
We can provide updated plans. We did submit updated plans for civil engineering a few weeks ago. That was kind of what the continuance was about, and those should have been dated the 15th of January. But I'll work with Tom.
Yeah, if you want to work with Tom, because obviously these aren't construction plans and you're a ways away, so if you're willing to, if you're looking to
Yeah.
start.
This is that revised plan that I'm showing here, so yeah, we do have, and it's dated January 19th.
Yeah. But yes, there will be, other documents submitted for kind of building permit review, and we understood that to be a separate process after we got this approval.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
No.
Yeah? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would wish to speak to this? Going once, going twice? All right, looking for a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll move to close the public portion of the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Are we continuing this?
After we close the public.
Okay,
Is that your second?
that's my second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, on Tom's recommendation, I would look for a motion to table this till, or continue this till next, what was it, February 20th meeting?
Make a motion to continue it at the request of the applicant.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, next month. Thank you.
Next meeting.
Oh, next meeting, sorry. All right, item number 8. 8A is MRA membership.
Yes.
Patrick, you gonna go over this?
Yep, Mr. Chair, I do believe the board requested that we get our proposed membership, and Management Resource Association, put into resolution format for the board's perusal and approval for this meeting. I have had ongoing discussions with our customer service rep with MRA. They are awaiting our approval for this to go forward with what we have in mind. We actually ended up only having to do $650 a year. We are technically a nonprofit. The initial cost that I thought I was given was $1,100, so.
I think if you keep working with them, they might pay us.
We'll just be the beacon of human resource management and just be a case study from going on, so. Anyway, the initial project that we have lined up, is we are going to have our membership benefits, website management, which will all lead into, a complete audit of our operations in which they will consolidate everything for us, and streamline it as best they can.
Does this effectively go in the minute we actually
Yep.
pass the, okay. Do you, I mean, I think you're familiar with these people. Can you give us maybe just a little bit of an overview of what happens then?
After everything I just told you happens?
Well, once we approve this and it starts, how does that work with our staff?
Well, the first thing that's gonna happen, like I said, they will have a field management person come to our site, evaluate what we have in place in terms of HR, what we need with HR, and they will put together a strategy for us that will address everything that we do need. I foresee that happening in the next 30 to 45 days.
And then would there be someone assigned specifically for the township that staff would be in contact with if there is a issue or whatever?
At least for now, it is me.
Okay.
I'm that initial point. If you're uncomfortable with that, we can change that.
Only if I have a problem with you. All right, no, as long as staff is aware of that, even though
Yeah.
I know when they see this, they're wondering if there's gonna be somebody else that they're gonna have to deal with.
No.
Okay.
That's been made very clear to them.
All right.
And Mr. Kelly and Lynette will be involved on the front end of the initial audit of our operation too. So they've been kind of the go-to people for HR questions over the last, or at least since Lynette's been on board for almost 2 years now. So,
Dave, you got anything else?
No, I read the material that was provided. I think it's a needed next step for our township, personally.
Yeah. Good. All right, so I would be looking for a motion on approving this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for a membership with the Employers Association known as MRA. And if I need to spell that out, I'm not sure what it stands for. actually.
Management Resource Association.
So noted.
There you go.
All right, do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we're officially on.
Okay, thanks, folks.
All right, 8B, solicitation license request from Renewal by Anderson. Is that you too, Patrick?
Yeah, so we did receive requests for that, I want to say, just within the last couple of weeks. Renewal by Anderson is window replacement. We did contact White Bear Lake City regarding their activities within the city, and they do come recommended as being a legit and fair business, so. They've had no issues with them within the city.
They were in the township last year, weren't they?
I don't think so. I think it's been a few years. From what I understand from Patty, that's what Patty told me.
So we don't know if these are all new people or different people.
Oh, that's a good question. I can find, I guess I don't know the answer to that one.
I thought we'd seen it before, but
Okay,
obviously we've gotten all the background checks, everything,
yeah, everything checks out legally.
and they know of our ordinance of
They do.
displaying badges and all that
We
stuff.
sent that initially with their application.
All right, Scott, you got anything else? Steve?
Nope, I'm very comfortable with Renewal by Anderson activities. I've had them at my house.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Nice work.
Bye.
Absolutely.
There's a ringing endorsement.
Nice work.
All right, if there's no further questions, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion based on staff review and recommendation to authorize issuance of a solicitor's license to Renewal by Anderson, 1920 County Road C, Roseville, Minnesota, subject to the following, and I do need to read through all these?
We can note them in the record.
Okay.
All right, do I have a second on the motion?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Item 8C is our GIS implementation. Patrick, or is
Yep.
Dale going to review this or not?
We'll kind of tag team it between the three of us, Dale and Larry and I. So this reintroduction of GIS to the township came from a discussion that, or Dale and I are going to be having ongoing monthly with our Public Works crew, trying to work on some administrative connections and improvements between Public Works and admin. And we started talking about GIS, and the way I understand it, 2-3 years ago?
Patrick, for the audience, you just want to explain what GIS is?
Go ahead.
Well,
That's you, technical.
Geographical information systems. So,
So, we had talked about this, I guess, at the town board level. We had set aside money in our capital improvement plan to implement GIS across the town, specific to water, sewer, stormwater. And we got up to the point of getting it going, and we stopped, for whatever the reason was.
there were other departments that had an interest, and I just wasn't as comfortable answering their needs or what they would want to incorporate.
Yep. So we'd like to get back in that discussion with the board's approval. We are suggesting or recommending that Larry come back, when did we say? March meeting, March 1st meeting? Yep, to kind of go over the benefits of GIS and talk about the assets that we have in place that could tie out to GIS and how we can manage that. And at that point, we would like to reconvince the board that this is an effective strategy for us to adopt. Did you want to add anything?
Sure, I think tonight is looking for direction from the board to direct staff to develop a process and timeline for GIS. And it's really, GIS is also another word for it is asset management implementation. So it's managing the many assets, and I have a listing of assets that I can quickly go through. 42.9 miles of streets, 1,036 regulatory and informational signs, 319 street identification signs, 3,000 trees, 664 catch basins, 136 manholes, 340 flared end sections, 16 miles of storm sewer, 73 ponds, 1,486 sanitary manholes, 975 valves, 792 hydrants with valves, and 4,800 curb boxes, which are water service valves per se. So it's a program that is a location-based program that can help you administer those assets.
So what kind of, if we move forward, what's the time, how long does it take to, would you guesstimate, to get all our assets located?
That's a good question. We went right up to through an RFP process 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Actually, RFP, just last year.
Oh, it's just last year?
Yeah.
Okay. That spelled out a lot of that information. So I think what we'd really like to do is have Larry make that kind of a presentation to the board, and go from there as to whether or not the board is interested in pursuing that, and then we go through those kind of steps to get through an RFP.
So this is more than just some kind of remote ability to sense the water meter readings.
Right.
So this is much more comprehensive, it sounds like.
It's mapping?
Yes, so
mapping?
it's I'll give you an example. We have a hydrant maybe that is leaking. And you can with this kind of asset management tool, you will have a device that you can bring out in the field, and you can find the hydrant for one. It's because it's location based, geographical information systems, and then look up information about that asset, that hydrant, for example, that when was the last time someone was out to maintain that asset, and what is just basically the history of that asset. You can take pictures of that asset. You know, as the township has to maintain signage, for example, you know, the age of that sign and the reflectivity diminishes over time, and you can have data that is location based to find the sign. If a sign gets run over, and how would we know that it's was even never there? So it can help you locate where that sign was, and what the age is. It might need to be replaced because of the reflectivity has diminished over time. So those are a couple examples.
Would this extend also to underground utilities?
Yes, I mean, you can use that to help with flushing of sanitary mains.
It also helps create a record or an inventory of service to each one of the assets that Larry's mentioned here. And Steve, you'll like this, cuts down on paperwork.
Yeah,
Love it.
a work plan for.
And you have that asset identified in any work that's been done with, like Larry had said. And you can also, if it's for hydrant, another example is you just add the parts list for that specific hydrant. We have different types of hydrant within the township, so it really helps streamline the process for managing. And we can also pull out maybe by year, when's the last time the hydrant had any work done, so we just filter by 5 years. In the last 5 years, which hydrants have been maintained, and which we haven't.
Our neighboring communities, this is not some radical next move. This is commonplace in a lot of communities today.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Kanabec County has it.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Your point is,
What's your point?
So, I could add some more to it. So like we've been asked by Rice Creek Watershed District and Vlamo, because this stormwater is getting really critical, and the interconnects and the water, help me out, Larry, the water districts, you know, how they flow, and so they'd like to eventually everyone have a regional-wide map that connects and shows all these outfalls and that go into other communities, and piping systems and flows. So we've had several requests since I've been here for that data, and we just don't have it available. And I think, Tom, you've asked me for some GIS, you know, if we had any GIS maps for some planning opportunities. You know, we would have that if we add that package or component.
And I think our electronic mapping is no longer, or software is no longer supported.
That's correct.
That's correct. So,
So if we move forward with this, are these all 2019 expense, or is this graduate, I mean, the money that you were talking?
I think it would be pretty optimistic to get all that done. I think we could get water and sewer. Stormwater might be, and Larry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, might be the following year.
we're
next
gonna
year.
suggest phases.
Was this done under the capital improvement plan, or how was it funded?
Yes.
So was that for the next 5 years, all right?
Yes. So going back to a year, I guess, it's still in place.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been increased. I don't know that, Steve, or Scott may not know this, but maybe Steve and Eddie can remember, we did discuss this 3 years ago, and I just initially didn't have enough funding to consider, I mean, it was suggested, why don't you try adding sanitary sewer along with water and see if we get some scale, economy of scale with that. But when that proposal came back, is actually over what I had budgeted.
So round numbers for the total expenditures to implement this program, we don't know what that is, or is that?
Well, I think we'll have a better idea once we get the RFPs in.
But we did set aside 250 thousand initially, and then we have added to it 225.
For calendar year 2019, or, and what about 20, is there 2020 expenditures expected, or?
We can carry that money over.
You can carry it
Yeah,
over.
it's carried over, but it's not gonna be more next year and more next year and more next year to implement, we don't know that yet.
Don't know that.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
that's
hoping
where I was trying to get to.
I think what we're gonna suggest after we go through what Larry shows us and after we go through an RFP, we're gonna suggest or recommend a phased-in approach. Water sewer being the initial phase. And if we can handle stormwater under the first phase, we'd love to, but we're being realistic and prudent about it, so.
Well, I'm a big advocate for less paper, because electronic data tracking is far more superior than human
Oh, yeah.
error,
Totally agree.
so.
Larry, you mentioned all these valves. Does that include curb stops for water shut-offs?
Yeah, that's the 4,800.
Okay, because I know with this cold weather, there's been some issues with people trying to shut their water off in their houses, and those things get buried and lost, and no one knows where they are.
Yep.
And that might be where it might take us a little longer, because that's gonna require Public Works to go out and locate, and a lot of them are buried and whatnot. So there's quite a process
Aye.
from the Public Works side, demand on them to locate all those individual curb stops. So that's where this might take a little longer in some portion. Maybe the curb stops would be the following year if we don't get them this year. Just an example, or maybe we only get 50% of them this year.
Mr. Chair, if I might add one more note, in my previous employment, I led a process for evaluation of software. And I kind of have a template on what I used during that that I think I could bring to offer the township to go through that process to evaluate the right solution for this community.
All right, so Patrick, we don't need a formal motion, just a board consensus that we should proceed
We would
with?
appreciate that, yes.
Okay.
All right, I think it's the
We're
right
on?
move.
All right, I guess Larry, that's your marching orders.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Item 9A is tobacco compliance. This is something that Township does. They don't do it every year, do they? Do they? I think we have a report on the last round.
We had 100% compliance.
I know they usually come to public safety and once in a while review where they're headed. I know right now there's a big push with tobacco to get it to 21.
Yep. A lot of communities are jumping on that.
They don't address that at all in here, do they?
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to see
Well,
this.
the recommendations on page 1 of the Patty's email, second page there, it talks about communities raising the tobacco rates up. It talks about how they went about doing the compliance checks. There's 23 cities in the state of Minnesota, which you can see on their material back in the packet. 23 cities in Minnesota that have approved raising the tobacco rate. So 5 establishments and 5 passes.
Which I think is to be commended.
Well, Scott, you'll be dealing with those folks shortly here with public safety, I believe.
I guess so, yeah.
So we added that as FYI, and if you want to tout that to your constituents, please do so.
All right, any questions on the report? Nope. I'll ask for a motion to receive.
So moved to receive the tobacco compliance result report.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, before we move into open time, a couple things. I know one thing, we're having a heating problem in the building, so half of us are wearing coats.
But who can tell?
So bear with us. I know we have some residents here, but specific to the recent MPCA findings regarding water gremlin, the state of Minnesota has jurisdiction in this matter. White Township will be cooperating with the MPCA and the Minnesota Department of Health and provide the state with any information these agencies may request. Residents seeking further information are welcome to attend a public meeting, which is being held this Thursday, February 7th, from 6 to 9 at Central Middle School. That's at 4587 Bloom Avenue and White Bear Lake. We don't really have a lot of specifics on that. I don't know what the forum is on it. I know I did speak to a representative from Water Gremlin. They are gonna have someone there. I don't know if we're gonna be asked to have question and answer. It's been pretty vague. We didn't get a lot of notice on all this, so it kind of all popped up in a hurry for us, so. I know we have some residents here, so if we move into open time, that's kind of where we stand. So if you'd like to, I know, John, you got, just give me your name and address.
John Bartholomew, 4448 Margaret Street, 32-year resident of White Bear Township. I can look out my window and see Water Gremlin. As Mr. Prudon said, or Ed, because I know him from a long time back, there's probably not a lot that you can tell us, but I started doing some digging, and there's more than some concern about what's been going on, obviously the air quality. First, I'd like to ask two questions about the meeting. The paper stated 6. The press release stated 6, and yet the letter that we got from Water Gremlin today said 6:30. Can anyone tell us which one is right?
Well, I'm going with the 6 because I've had both numbers too, but
That's-
everything I've seen is 6
Go
o'clock.
with 6 o'clock? Okay.
That's what I'm
Will
going
this
with.
be televised?
I doubt very much that would have,
Yeah.
well,
It's not something that we've been asked to do.
no, not on our end anyway.
Okay. Before I go through and ask a couple other things, so MPCA is putting this on and you didn't request this, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. When I look at their letter and then look at the time frame, it said that they were doing regular maintenance last summer and they had an unprecedented in their own terms, breakdown of their environmental equipment concerning this piece. And they contacted the MPCA, and this was last summer. January 14th, they were asked to shut down. That's quite a time gap. January 31st, the township was notified, and the MPCA put something out on their website. And then on 2/1, my wife walked in the morning and showed me this thing in the paper about the shutdown, and naturally, that got the ball rolling from the residents, and then we all received a letter today. Is there anyone that has any idea why there was such a gap from last summer to January? Anybody know? I didn't think you would.
On our end. We are a little disheartened that when we were notified that this was happening and we were getting our letter of, what was it, Patrick, what'd they call it? The letter of response to this? We had about 2 hours before they were going public with a press conference. So we were kind of caught flat-footed on this too.
Yeah,
They
I
gave
know.
us no notice, no time to even make some phone calls, so it was a pretty tight window.
When I looked at the time frame, I go, yeah, they didn't do a good job of notifying you and then putting out the release, but one of the questions that'll come up you probably can't answer is how long were they running with this equipment? I understand it was a filter failure that put the pollutants in the air, so somebody dropped the ball and it was the MPCA, because if they did have a problem, it should have been shut down last summer, but they never indicated what the date was when they shut it down.
All I do know is they have a timely inspection by the MPCA,
Okay.
but I don't know what those dates are, and that's one of my questions for Thursday night. So we can get a timeline of when's the last time they looked at it, so I think we'll know that on Thursday.
All right. The reason I'm asking is, obviously, there's some concern. I'm kind of the point person in the neighborhood, so I like to get as much information out as possible, because things can be said that are not correct or not true, and we want to nip that in the bud. And I know you don't know much, so you've answered everything that I could ask. Thank you for your time.
Well, we're not exactly TCE experts, so.
No. Oh, well, my wife is a nurse, and she looked it up, and she was not happy, but
Keep in
hopefully
mind,
this
these are
isn't as bad.
state permits.
Pardon
issued
me?
by- These are state permits issued by the MPCA, so they're the ones that monitor them. So
Yeah.
they're the ones that have to answer your questions, unfortunately.
Well, we'll be asking them. I do know that about 25 years ago, maybe it was less than that, when they were going to do the expansion, I went to the meetings and looked at what they were going to do, and it looked like they were doing their part, but I was told that maybe the MPCA wasn't monitoring them as well as they should be, and I was wondering if this might be the case, so,
Well, hopefully we'll all know a lot more on Thursday night.
yes. All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, anyone else? All right, hearing none, I need a motion for receive of material.
We next receive Jones.
Oh,
You can just
No, I don't wanna.
gloss over that. You're gonna pass over
Just
that.
gloss right over that.
do you have anything to say, Joan?
Explain yourself.
Absolutely nothing.
We talked before the meeting. I think we've arrived at an arrangement that's gonna allow for continuity for the township. Megan, who's been doing, we've kind of been slowly getting into the rhythm of doing minutes for us to, eventually, I would assume, is going to supplant Joan, has agreed to take over the stuff that she no longer wants to or is able to cover. But we had one gap, and that was our monthly executive committee meeting. Megan she works on Fridays, and so Joan has graciously agreed to still cover our executive committee meeting minutes
Okay.
for the immediate or foreseeable future until she deems herself unable to do that anymore. So we are very happy to hear that she's agreed to that. So I think we should be covered.
All right, do we need a formal motion for this, Patrick?
To accept her resignation with condition.
Well, if we do, I'll reluctantly make that.
And I will reluctantly second that.
But I don't know if I'll vote for it.
That's all right, too bad.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, Joan. All right, item 11, receipt of agenda materials and supplements. Need a motion?
I'll make that motion to receive the agenda and supplemental material.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved?
I'll second.
We are adjourned.